electric car push. The Biden administration has released a new green proposal. It would require at least 54% of new vehicles sold in the United States to be electric by 2030, and in 2032, 2 of every 3 vehicles sold will have to be electric. But it does not seem like many Americans were sold on going electric for their next cars. A new poll shows that just about 4 in 10 American adults are somewhat likely to switch. Now, joining us now is Georgia Congressman and member of the House Appropriations Committee, Andrew Clyde. Congressman Clyde, great to have you here tonight. I want to get your reaction to the Biden administration foisting these electric vehicles upon the American public during an economic downturn. We know these are not cheap vehicles.
Well, thank you, Logan. I think the American people are concerned about inflation, 40-year high inflation. They're not going to be going out and buying a $60,000 electric vehicle because gas has gone up $1 or $2 a gallon. That's just unrealistic. And to have the Biden administration regulate our car industry such that they force them to make electric vehicles and force Americans to purchase electric vehicles is just unthinkable. It's unconscionable. And honestly, it's dangerous. I think that would put our economy in a spiral toward collapse because electric vehicles are just not practical right now. The infrastructure isn't there, and to say that we're going to be, so many percent electric by 2032, and you see that there's no plan for the infrastructure. And even if there was a plan, the amount of money that it would cost to put that infrastructure in for electric vehicles, and then the fact that gas-powered vehicles are still superior to electric vehicles. This is unrealistic and is dangerous for our economy in America.
And Congressman, a new Monmouth University poll found that 51% of Americans say that the middle class has not benefited from President Biden's policies at all. And get this, just 10% of Americans say that middle-class families have benefited a lot from Biden's policies so far. So why keep pushing green initiatives when Americans don't see things getting better for them?
Well, I think this is about control. This is about government control. This is not about making things better for the American people. You can see the crisis that the Biden administration has created time after time, year after year now, whether it's the border crisis or whether it's a crime crisis or the energy crisis. We in the House, in the majority, are focused on providing reasonable energy to the American people, which is why we passed H.R. 1, to reduce the cost of fossil fuel and to make it more available, to reduce the government regulation on it, and to put us back on the path that President Trump had us on, which was the path of energy independence. That's not what President Biden wants. He wants us to be a servant to the government. He wants us to be beholden to the government and just to obey what the government says when it comes to what we're going to buy for our next vehicle. And that just doesn't work. That's not free market capitalism. That's not America.
And Congressman, last year there was that big backup on 95 where those cars were stuck overnight. There was a lot of speculation of could it have been worse with cars getting stuck there if there were more EVs. So what do you think needs to happen in order for the administration to successfully convince Americans to buy electric cars? Or is this something that they're going to have to pull the economy back into better shape before they can even do that?
Oh, I think for the administration to convince the Americans that they need to buy electric cars, they have to show that it's better. You can't show that it's better. So the only way, they cannot convince Americans to do it of their own free will. They have to force it through regulation. And that's not what America is about. We are a free market enterprise here and free market capitalism, and that we're not having the government force things down our throat, just like COVID. They forced vaccines down our throat. What did that do? That didn't go over well with the American people. We are independent, free-minded, liberty-loving people, and we don't need the government in our lives to tell us what to do. So I don't think the government can convince Americans that the electric vehicle is the best way to go.
All right, GOP Congressman Andrew Clyde, thanks for being here and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Logan.